I just love my job. I love the buzz I get from it. I love to help people. I love to sort problems out. I feel I'm quite a good manager. I can sit in my office, I can hear my staff going, oh, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? And I'll go out and say, can I help?
Whenever I've had feedback, whenever I've had my appraisal, every chief executive I've had has said, Harry, we need to try and find ways of reducing your working hours because you do work very long hours. But I just think it is part of my makeup. I love what I do. I've always loved what I've done. And so long as I know that I am making a difference, that's the main thing. That I'm not involved in some bureaucratic process that's pretty meaningless to anybody.
Everything. Come to work every day. I really enjoy it, yes. What I really like is that in my job, I've got 2 different activities. One is research, which I love and I'm passionate about. I love to find things and to see how our findings can help and the meanings of our findings. But on the other hand, I also like to do applied diagnostics and to know that I'm helping a patient, that my work is helping someone. That's what I really enjoy.
I do take my work home with me. I try to have some thinking time on the way home so that by the time I go home I can take my matron's hat off and put my mummy hat on. It's not always possible. There are things that stay with you, things that you've seen, things that you've done, people that you worry about. You go home at the end of a shift sometimes having handed the care of a patient over to another team, for example, theatres or the intensive care team, and you know that patient is going to have a very difficult night one way or another. And yeah, you can't help but remember that and think about that and wake up the next morning thinking about how they are.
It's not all rosy, and some children absolutely hate physiotherapy, and there's sometimes nothing we can do to prevent that, and it can be very hard work. It's usually the children who have suffered with burns that hate it, because the type of therapy we have to do can often be quite painful and very distressing for them, and they don't have the understanding of the sort of no pain, no gain theory when they're 4 years old, and they can learn to really fear you, and it takes a lot to get them to overcome that, really. I have gone home crying on occasions. It can be really awful, and they can scream and scream and scream, and the most important thing really is that you've got the parents on board and they're not looking at you like you're torturing their child.
You can't afford to get emotionally involved, but I cried over a patient that's died, I'm behind the curtains, I must admit, when we were up on D ward, because he's such a lovely chap. I just couldn't help myself, but nobody saw it.
Most days, crying is a sign of something touching you. And I think in A&E, the thing that makes us all cry is other people's emotion, and dealing with families who have suffered a bereavement or a loss or very difficult circumstances.
I think as you get more advanced, you realise that sometimes it's not your fault that you can't provide the care that you want to, and you just learn how to work with what you have. My first year, I was in tears most days, but I'm definitely not toughening up, but I'm getting a better understanding of my capabilities and what I should expect of myself, and not beating myself up quite so much. The intensive care department is full of incredibly sophisticated machinery, and then outside of our unit we have such a range of techniques at our fingertips with imaging and blood tests, and you just sometimes think, how did anyone ever make any decisions before we had any of this, because we're so reliant on it. But yeah, very often all of that will not be enough, and the patient's just own body will decide whether it's make or break. And sometimes the people you think you can't fix, you can, and sadly sometimes the ones you think should be easily mendable are not.
It comes out in different ways. They can be very aggressive, they can be very quiet, they can be just very agitated, and with experience you've usually got a good idea from their symptoms what you're going to find, basically. And you can usually look at them as well, and you know whether somebody's got something that's not very pleasant. So they're always worried about the test itself. And usually when they come out having the test and everything's okay, they'll say, oh, that wasn't as bad as what I thought.
It's a very different way of working. I mean, what you're doing is you're really turning your brain into a computer. It's total concentration. The other thing, of course, is that when you're concentrating, you don't blink. And if you actually look at the people who are good at laparoscopic surgery, they don't blink, and they can talk whilst they're doing it. They can multitask. And in fact, what it's really like is operating in a mirror, because when you move your hand right, it goes left. One of my patients said it's a bit like papering your whole stairs and landing through the letterbox.
Venipuncture is the art of putting the needle inside of a vein. Okay, now us adults have got quite big veins, particularly in our inner elbows. There, we've got nice big chunky veins, and it's quite easy usually to get a needle in there. But imagine the smaller the child is. You know, it can be quite difficult. And I actually do venipuncture on like 2-day-old babies, and their veins are like little threads of cotton. So it is quite an art to be able to do it. And I have to say I am quite good at it, to be quite honest with you. It's very, very rare for me not to get it first time. You know, but I love it. I love doing it. I love their little faces when they leave. And they were all frightened when they came in. And they go out and they go, I didn't know.